What kind of growth can be anticipated for markets like China in anticipation, for instance, of that Trump tariffs, which would weigh on the confidence of consumers?
Well, it's very difficult to project in the future what will be the politics of a newly elected president. Also, because often between what you say to be elected and what you do once you're elected, there can be some differences. So assuming that import duties will increase, in America, probably the Chinese government will also increase duties from American goods. But I have to say that this shouldn't impact so much luxury, in the sense that Chinese doesn't export much luxury to America. And I would say that America doesn't export much luxury to China. As you know, luxury is mostly a Franco-Italian business. I exaggerate a bit because I'm Italian, but most of fashion and high luxury is Franco-Italian. And insofar, those two markets, those two countries, have maintained a good relationship with China. And I see no reason why, we would be penalized next year to export to China, or why we would prevent China to export to our country. So again, we have to be very careful in our statements. And what may happen in America might not necessarily, impact the Western or European luxury.
So in terms of demand growth, what are you anticipating? How do you think sales will be for 2025 for China?
Well, China, I think when you have a crisis which is based partially on real estate, but more, I would say, exactly on oversupply, not only of real estate, but of many manufactured goods, which are too many to be absorbed, not only by the local Chinese living in China, but also internationally by Western consumers or Asian consumers. Obviously, this cannot be resolved overnight, because oversupply is also related to a certain infrastructure, to certain kind of investments, which have to be reshifted towards different industries, probably more services and a bit less of traditional industry production. So we can anticipate that the crisis in China may continue next year, as the country will need, I think, a couple of years at least to absorb that oversupply of manufactured goods and real estate, and to evolve quickly towards an economy which is more a service-oriented economy, rather than an economy also much more in some advanced technologies, which they are already, but they can do for sure more, in order, to reestablish a balance between supply and demand, which today is challenging.
Jean-Christophe, are you then looking at opening more stores in mainland China in 2025, 2026? What's your expansion plan?
In Greater China, generally speaking, we have about 50 stores. So I would say it's quite a solid network covering the main cities, the main malls in a rather good location, I have to say. So our first priority for this year and for next year is not necessarily, to open new stores, because I think that our network is so covering quite well mainland China, but to get more productivity from those stores on the one hand, and on the other hand, to further develop an area where we've been pioneering the market, that is e-commerce, not only the e-commerce we do from our website, but the e-commerce we do in concession with the likes of Tmall, with the likes of JD. And this is obviously reaching cities where we don't have stores and where we don't necessarily need to establish stores because they are not having the proper mall for luxury. On the other hand, they have the proper clients for luxury. And so obviously e-commerce is a smart way to reach those clients, to make them enjoy the Bulgari experience. without necessarily having a boutique in each and every city of China above 5 million people.
In terms of the other markets in Asia, like India, like Japan, where do you see sales headed? How optimistic are you that these markets will continue to grow?
Well, those markets have grown a lot this year and last year. I think India, for sure, is not yet, I mean, the new China. It's a long way to go, but at least the fundamentals in India are extremely strong. I mean, the GDP growth is very positive. The demographics in India are very favorable compared to Western countries or China, where population is aging. And there are a lot of investors now in India understanding that luxury can be, as a landlord, something very profitable. So with an outlook with more luxury malls to come in the coming months or years, which will propel India, if not in the top 3, but probably in the top 5 or top 8 markets worldwide. So there will be for sure a lot to get from India, and a company like Bulgari has opened already a new flagship in Mumbai this year. We're expanding our footprint on the Indian market in secondary cities with watch retailers. And we have been the first luxury brand to go directly in concession with Tata CLiQ. Tata CLiQ is a bit the Tmall of India, with a very broad reach of secondary Indian cities, thus allowing us to reach again Indian clients desiring our jewelry, our watches, even though in those cities we have no short-term plan to establish a boutique, just because there's no mall really yet in those boutiques. So we see India actually positively, all the more that we are working together with Priyanka Chopra. She's probably the most aspirational and famous actress in India nowadays, not only, but she's also a jewelry lover, advising us to provide our jewelry with a twist of India, which resonates very strongly with the Indian client emotionally. And for Japan, we have on the one hand, I mean, a growth on the Japanese locally. I think the new generation is really today somehow rebelling against a sluggish destiny, which was more or less the history of Japan up to 5 years ago. You can see again in Tokyo now cranes all over the city, a lot of real estate projects. We are just opening soon, I mean, a store in the new district, Abu Zedai, which is very promising. Right. So Japan is entering, I think, a new cycle together with a new generation where people really are more bullish somehow and more willing to enjoy life at its fullest compared to the previous generation. So we see a surge of Japan, combined obviously with a lot of tourism in Japan, and not only Chinese tourism, but also, I mean, a lot of American tourism, of European tourism. So Japan is kind of the place to go nowadays for most of the world population. And it's not only yen related. The yen, we know, is quite weak, but also because it's a wonderful country. I mean, in terms of hospitality, you even have a Bulgari hotel. So it says long about how good it is to go there. But you have a lot of history, you have a lot of arts, of culture, of gastronomy.
Which of your products are seeing the best growth? I mean, you're in everything from jewelry to watches to handbags. Which products are selling the best for you in terms of, the luxury goods that you're selling?
Well, for Bulgari, it has been a year, I would say, of high jewelry and high-end watches in terms of growth category with the highest growth rate. And we still have some events, I mean, till the end of the year, so it makes me optimistic. Then it has been a year, I would say, also very much driven by Serpenti, which is one of our icons. From regular jewelry to high jewelry, it's becoming really more and more, I mean, a key symbol of Bulgari, and it is globally attractive to clients, which is rare because often some icons can be very popular in one geography and a bit less in another one. So Serpenti has been driving our business, but not only in jewelry, but also in watches, recording their best year ever, and in handbags, which you were mentioning. So those have been key drivers.
From your perspective, what then would be the biggest risk for the luxury market for Bulgari in 2025?
The main risk is to be pessimistic, because if you are pessimistic, you start to slow down your creative and innovation process. You start to lower your investments, and then you create yourself, your own erosion. So I think we have to continue to be optimistic because 24, again, I repeat, has been and will be negative for several brands, and we know which ones already because what's announced at the third quarter won't be necessarily very different as the fourth quarters. But I can tell you that others, and not, the smallest one, are growing or are stable versus last year, which again, I repeat, being last year the best ever year for the luxury, is not bad at all. So 25 probably won't be a huge growth year because we still have to absorb some further economic Chinese slowdown before Chinese bounces back. On the other hand, as we did in 24, there's no reason why we don't continue to grow in most of the other geographies.